To prepare for Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day, our Beit Midrash is presenting a series of videos on the Sheish Zichirot, 6 memorials Jews are supposed to carry out on a perpetual basis. To receive emails with links for each video, please go to www.torontotorah.com/zikaron, Zikaron. The videos are dedicated in memory of those who fell in the creation of the State of Israel, as well as those who have fallen in its defense ever since. In addition, each video is dedicated to a casualty from a particular conflict. This video is dedicated in memory of Staff Sergeant Gedaliah Melech, Gedaliah Hillel ben Simcha, a Golani commander who was killed in Jenin on Yom HaShoah in 2002 in Operation Defensive Shield. You can find out more about Staff Sergeant Melech by clicking on the links in the description below. With this video, I would like to learn about the unique character of one of the Sheish Zichirot, one of our memorials, specifically Zachor et Yom HaShabbat L'Kadisho, to remember, or to commemorate more accurately, the day of Shabbat, to sanctify it. In our first video, we learned that we are meant to hold these 6 memorials in order to shape our identity. But when it comes to the memorial that is Shabbat, we find something remarkable. We find that Hashem declares, as recorded in Megillat Eicha, in the book of Eicha, the 2nd chapter, that if we sin, God is going to eliminate our memorial. We find that we will have 5 memorials instead of 6. As Eicha reports, when we sinned and Hashem destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, Shikach Hashem b'tzion moed v'shabbat. Hashem caused to be forgotten our appointed times and our Shabbat. Which leads to a question. Number 1, why eliminate a memorial? The fact that we sin leads to the loss of the imperative to remember Shabbat. And number 2, why this memorial? We don't find such a phenomenon regarding remembering leaving Egypt. We don't find it regarding the war with Amalek or any of the other memorials. It's only for Shabbat that Hashem says that if we fail to meet the standard that God has set, He's going to eliminate this commemoration. So first of all, in order to understand why Hashem would destroy a memorial, we look at the first chapter in the book of Yeshaya, the book of Isaiah, in which he describes this destruction of the memorial. Hashem says, as reported there, Lo tosifu avim en chadshav. Don't bring empty gifts to me anymore. Ketoret to'evahi li. It is a rejected burning that you're bringing for me. Chodesh v'Shabbat kiro mikra. For you to hold these convocations, to gather together on Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, and Shabbat. Lo uchal aven va'atzara. I cannot tolerate, and here's the key, aven va'atzara, aven aleph vav nun, I cannot tolerate corruption even as you celebrate. That's where the problem is, and God goes on to say, Chadshechem u'moadechem, Chadshechem u'moadechem sana'a nafshi. He says he hates our Chodesh, he hates our moed hayu alai latorach. It becomes a burden for God. That's the state that we achieve when we are corrupt, even as we celebrate. In other words, social corruption makes spiritual memorial inappropriate. Shabbat requires that we earn the right to celebrate it. And if we are corrupt, then we don't have that right. And so that answers the question of what would move God to eliminate one of our commemorations: corruption. But it doesn't explain why, and it doesn't explain why this in particular. Of all of the memorials, why should this one be the one that is removed? Perhaps we can answer that it's because Shabbat is not a personal memorial for us. Shabbat is actually a shared experience with God. Unlike the other memorials, Shabbat is associated with bringing korbanot, just like the holidays, just like the Yom Tovim are. We bring offerings to God in the Beit HaMikdash, those offerings that Yeshaya, Isaiah, said are rejected at this time. The Torah calls Shabbat Mikra Kodesh. And writing on Parshat Bo, Shmot Perek Yud Bet, the 12th chapter of the book of Exodus, Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says that when God calls this day Mikra Kodesh, a day for calling people to sanctity. That is actually mifgash mechudash im Hashem. It is a renewed rendezvous with God. There is a shared nostalgia. Shabbat, unlike the others, is not something we remember alone. It's something we remember in tandem with God. Hence the karbanot, the gifts that we bring to God in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple on that day. And if so, then we can understand why failure to live up to God's expectations results in the withdrawal of that memorial. Because God says, I'm not interested. If you're going to be corrupt, if you will take advantage of others, then I'm not interested in remembering creation of the world with you. Taking advantage of others is what led to the Mabul, to the flood, to the destruction of the world. It's anathema. It's the opposite of what we are supposed to be doing when we commemorate creation by celebrating Shabbat. And so God says, if you're going to be corrupt, there's no need for such a memorial, and the rendezvous is off. Now, that's a negative lesson. However, there's a positive side as well, because it teaches us the unique power of our Shabbat, even in a period when we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, when we're not able to bring the karbanot, to bring these gifts. Nonetheless, Shabbat is meant to be a day of rendezvous with God. It's meant to be a shared commemoration. It's not about us remembering God created. We're remembering together. There is a bond to feel on that day. That's the power of this memorial over all of the other memorials. We've seen then that the Sheish Zechirot are not a monolithic block. They each have unique characteristics. And the unique characteristic of Shabbat is this opportunity to remember together with God, so long as we live up to that standard of refined ethical behavior. Now, we make use of this concept of shared memory, of remembering with God, on another occasion, and that is at Yizkor, when we remember those who have passed on, and we ask God to remember those who have passed on as well. And on Yom HaZikaron, we ask God to remember specifically those who fell in the formation of the State of Israel, those who fell in its defense, as well as the victims of terror attacks. Let us call upon Hashem this Yom HaZikaron to remember Gedaliyahu Hillel ben Simcha, and to look after the neshamot, the souls of the great men and women who have given their lives for the State of Israel, who gave their lives in the run-up to its creation, as well as in the past 70 years. Thank you.